Good morning. Happy Wednesday. We've made it to the middle point of the week.
It's a downward spiral time in a good way.
Ever since I started on this new shift, I've been very confused about what day it is.
It happens to the best of us. You know, I mean, when you show up to work at 2 a.m. every day, it's amazing what that does to your recollection of what day it is.
Right, because I'm now going to sleep basically when I was only like an hour into my old shift.
If it wasn't for Tracy coming in to clean in the mornings, I would have no idea what day it is because I know what days she comes in.
Right.
And if it wasn't for her, I would be completely lost.
Yeah.
I may not show up tomorrow. I may show up. I don't know. I would be very confused.
Yeah.
She comes Wednesdays and Fridays. So I know. Wednesday, Friday. Tracy's here.
There you go. Well, Friday, you should know when Friday is.
Well, yeah, but I should, but I don't. That's the problem. So it's like if I've seen her twice in a week, I know what's going on. Okay, lots to talk about on the weather scene. Sorry, I get distracted here. All the severe thunderstorm warnings have expired, but we are still tracking some pretty healthy cells, one of which is going right by the Laird farm there, Shannon.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, hopefully there's no hail in
guys.
that, because if it is, it's barreling down. Johnny's not going to be happy.
No.
We also got one just north of Whitewater there and north of Malta tracking along the High Line. You notice as we look outside there, still tracking some pretty heavy rain throughout the area, 50 degrees in Great Falls right now. How far from normal are we tracking today? Well, right on track with normal, so not a whole lot of difference there. And we'll continue to keep an eye on that as well. But Opportunity Bank ICAM sitting at about 50 degrees as well, winds out of the west. We'll have more on your extended forecast coming up shortly. Shannon.
All right, thanks, Jason. Governor Bullock announced Tuesday that starting on June 1st, Montana will begin phase 2 of reopening in the wake of COVID-19 related shutdowns imposed back in March. As outlined by the governor at a Capitol News conference, phase 2 will allow restaurants, bars, breweries, and casinos to operate at 75% capacity with social distancing still in place. Gatherings of up to 50 people instead of 10 will also be allowed, and perhaps larger ones if social distancing can be maintained. The governor says the state will be lifting the 14-day quarantine that's been required for out-of-state visitors coming to the state. As the summer tourism season begins, Bullock says the state will employ what he called a robust public health plan in tourist communities, including surveillance testing for COVID-19. Yet he also said the success of the plan will rely on visitors as well as Montanans adhering to health precautions like wearing masks in places of public contact and washing hands frequently.
Look, every step that we take beyond a stay-at-home order and closing down all businesses indeed presents risk of more transmission. And I certainly expect out-of-state visitors to take this seriously as Montanans have.
The governor said the health precautions he's asking all Montanans and visitors to continue doing are part of a new normal in the state. Cascade County Commissioners voted to cancel the 2020 Montana State Fair due to COVID-19. The fair was scheduled to run July 24th through August 1st at Montana Expo Park in Great Falls. County Commissioner Jane Weber says this will help them prepare for a better fair next year.
You know, it would be a much changed state fair, and I think we could do better by sprucing up the grounds, sprucing up the buildings, getting some projects accomplished with the taxpayer money so that we're bigger and better next year.
The commissioners also suggested planning a smaller event for the community once the governor announces phase 3. Well, there are 6 new COVID-19 cases in Ravalli County. All the cases are in men. These 6 cases, along with the 7th in that county, are all connected, and travel is suspected to have played a role. 1 person is hospitalized. 3 additional tests are outstanding that are connected to this particular investigation. That brings the statewide total to 476. Still, about 92% of people have recovered so far from coronavirus. Every state is now in some phase of reopening, some much further along than others. New guidelines from the CDC were released without any fanfare this week to help businesses, schools, and restaurants reopen safely. The Trump administration continues to urge states to keep moving forward, arguing the economic consequences of not reopening are dire. CBS's Ian Lee has more.
Today, Connecticut becomes the 50th state to allow some non-essential businesses to reopen.
Eating out, I think that's the only thing I'll do.
I'll continue quarantining at home and only going to work when I need to.
Health experts say Connecticut has done the right thing waiting this long.
You have to reassure the public that they're not going to get sick and contract COVID by engaging in commerce.
After some delay, the CDC quietly released a 60-page roadmap for reopening. It includes recommendations that restaurants install barriers, buses close some seats, and schools close playgrounds and encourage students to wear masks.
And the people want to open up.
President Trump says he doesn't know if he'll wear a mask when visiting a Ford plant tomorrow, even though the auto giant informed the White House it's policy for everyone at the facility to wear one.
It depends on what situation. Am I standing right next to everybody or am I spread out?
Yesterday, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin was grilled by Democrats who say the administration isn't taking the health of American workers seriously.
How many workers will die if we send people back to work without the protections they need, Mr. Secretary?
Mr. Senator, we don't intend to send anybody back to work without the protections.
President Trump pushed back when asked about his plan to get Americans back to work.
Oh, I think we've announced a plan. We're opening up our country. Just a rude person you are. We're opening up our country. We're opening it up very fast.
Mnuchin warned the economy risks permanent damage if shutdowns last too long. Ian Lee, CBS News.
Here at home, the governor toured a Helena warehouse on Tuesday to get a look at Montana's current stockpile of personal protective equipment for a COVID-19 emergency. State workers are collecting the supplies in Helena and distributing them to healthcare providers and counties across the state. The most recent supplies to come in are an order of 500,000 N95 masks from FEMA. Leaders said they're currently looking for more of the things like surgical gloves and gowns. The National Guard has also been on hand putting together COVID-19 testing kits. It's now easier for small businesses to apply for forgiveness for Paycheck Protection Program loans. MTN's Matt Holzaffel has more.
If you own a small business, odds are you've heard of Paycheck Protection Program loans. On May 15th, the Small Business Administration released the PPP Loan Forgiveness Application, which will allow business owners to change those loans into grants. This isn't a new idea. In fact, the SBA had planned to do this the entire time. Now, it's just easier.
It's an 11-page document. We really recommend that anybody that received a PPP loan go and read that document yourself.
Guidelines published by the U.S. Department of the Treasury state that loan amounts will be forgiven as long as at least 75% of the funds were used to cover payroll costs.
Some of it includes the tracking of expenses. We're recommending that if you haven't already, it would be advisable to make sure that your PPP is in a separate account, that you can track every expense incurred to that account.
There are a number of rules and guidelines laid out in the application and instruction document, which can be found on the SBA and U.S. Treasury websites.
They've been saying that they were going to do that since the start, but nobody knew exactly what that meant. And so by the release of this 11-page document, that's the simplicity of it. It's pretty darn easy.
Loans were set to be due 2 years after the borrowing date with a 1% interest rate. The CARES Act also provided that forgiveness relief is limited if there is a reduction in the average number of full-time employees during the covered period when compared to a previous period, although there are some exceptions to this.
Jolene says the companies who want to apply for forgiveness should contact their bank or credit union, wherever you got the PPP loan, and let them know you want to apply as soon as possible. In Great Falls, Matt Holzaffel, MTN News.
The Great Falls Development Authority has small business development coaches and advisors that can help you decide what's best for your business. It is Wednesday morning. The time now is 5:09. Coming up, the race. With just a couple of weeks until ballots are due, we're continuing to introduce you to candidates in the state's top contests.
And later in your weather forecast, still tracking a big area of low pressure off the coast, spilling a decent amount of moisture our way, most of which is going to shift off to the eastern plains. With all that saturated air, we've got a lot of fog to deal with here this morning. Limited visibilities from Lewistown pretty much north. A little bit closer look at the forecast coming up shortly.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
Welcome back. It's 5:12 here on your Wednesday. With just 2 weeks until Montana's primary election date, the first big outside money spending is showing up in the race for governor. The Washington, D.C.-based group Emily's List, which supports women candidates, has brought nearly $700,000 in broadcast and digital ads to support Democrat Whitney Williams. Williams is competing against Lieutenant Governor Mike Cooney in the Democratic primary for governor. The ad, which started airing Tuesday in several urban markets, focuses on Williams' opposition to the proposed Black Butte copper mine north of White Sulphur Springs. Emily's List says its independent expenditure arm, Women Vote, has paid for the ads to run until June 2nd, Election Day. MTN's Jay Cohn has the latest on the Democratic battle for the governor's mansion.
More than 120,000 Montanans have already voted and mailed back their ballots, so decision time is here. At the top of the Democratic ticket, the governor's race so far has been a light hitting contest, but that's about to change. With the Emily's List Super PAC making a $700,000 ad buy this week in support of Williams, observers take that as a sign the race is tightening. Eric Fever with the Montana Public Employees Association supports Cooney, who he believes has the best chance of winning in November against likely GOP nominee Greg Gianforte. If Williams wins, he believes she'll face a big hill to climb come November. Aaron Murphy with the Montana League of Conservation Voters says both candidates are conservation champions. He's backing Williams, but his organization has not made an endorsement in the race.
Every time this state has been traveling in the right direction, Mike Cooney, as a public servant, has been in the cockpit. So his record is very strong. It brings a lot of experience to the table. Whitney Williams, who I should note was our board vice chair before she stepped down to run for this position, also a strong conservation record, and brings a different perspective from a business point of view, and a lot of experience in Montana. So both of those folks, I think, are very strong contenders when it comes to the conservation side of things.
Veteran Democratic lawmaker Dave Wanzenreed, himself a past candidate for governor, is backing Cooney. He believes if Williams wins, her ties to Hillary Clinton could become a big distraction and focal point in the November general election. Both Fever and Wanzenreed say the new ad buy for Williams, focusing on her pledge to protect the Smith River, may be too late, especially given the large number of voters who have already cast ballots. Time will tell. Those ballots, by the way, are due back into your local election office no later than June 2nd. In Billings, I'm Jay Cohn reporting for MTN News.
The state Republican Party on Tuesday filed an ethics complaint against Lieutenant Governor Mike Cooney, accusing him of violating state law by taking part in a campaign-related video conference call in his Capitol office. We first reported on this earlier this week after obtaining a screenshot of Cooney sitting in his office during that video conference with the Democratic Governors Association. Cooney's campaign says his opponent in the Democratic primary, Whitney Williams, also took part in that April 13th call that discussed the fall campaign against Republicans. They said he used a personal laptop during the call and called it an isolated incident. The GOP, though, complaint filed with the State Commissioner of Political Practices says Cooney broke the law that forbids the use of any public facility to promote a candidate for office. Williams also criticized Cooney on Tuesday, saying his actions chip away at public trust in government. The Cooney campaign says he conducts all fundraising activities and campaigning from his home or a private office.
Up next in your weather forecast, we are still tracking some isolated storms even at this hour, but all the severe thunderstorm warnings have expired. One little cell just north of Havre, and we're continuing to track mountain showers, which will really crank up the snow melt. 68 degrees was the daytime high yesterday. Average would be 66. As for today in Great Falls, a little bit cooler in the 60s. 70 was the high in the capital compared to 68 for the average, and 60s again on tap with more thunderstorms. We'll talk about it next.
Now, here's your Storm Tracker weather forecast with Jason Laird.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for spending your Wednesday with us. Well, still dealing with very saturated air out there and pretty widespread showers rolling through the Rocky Mountain front. So the dew point temperature, try to put this in the back of your mind. We're sitting at 47 in Great Falls, 46. Also keep in mind north central Montana, 49. All right, now let's look at the actual air temperature, 55. We're barely away from that. So what that tells us is the closer the dew point temperature is to the actual air temperature, the more saturated we are. So anytime you have that saturated air, you get a lot of lift and kicks off some showers and thunderstorms, and also feels very muggy. It's, again, one of those very muggy starts to the day. As for daytime highs today, not going to be warming up much as that colder air settled in yesterday afternoon. 66 in Great Falls for your daytime high. Still dealing with a couple of 80s there throughout the eastern plains. We are still tracking the possibility of pretty severe weather today, most of which is going to stay east of Havre and Lewistown. That's not to say we won't get a couple little isolated cells in our area, but really the strong stuff is going to be out east. And today, it's going to be a good one. We'll show you how it's going to play out here. So we're going to see some lingering showers over the mountains here this morning, heavy at times. The thing we have to keep in the back of our mind with that is flooding. We've got warm weather, we've got or warm temperatures, I should say, plus we got some rain moving over there, so that's going to really ramp up the snow melt. Water levels are going to go up. We're going to stay kind of cloudy through the noon hour, maybe a couple of scattered light showers. And then this afternoon, that's when things are going to start to pop again, especially in central Montana around Lewistown up to Havre. And they don't look bad, but these little cells that are going to make their way throughout eastern Montana, those are going to be strong. We've got a lot of weather elements coming together that are going to create a very unstable atmosphere in that area. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some very severe weather there. As for our area, again, isolated, possibly severe thunderstorms, not out of the question this afternoon and evening. And yet another cold front's going to push through. So along the leading edge of that cold front, that will just be another element that helps to kick off some of those showers and thunderstorms this afternoon and evening. Looking at the mid 40s for overnight lows, a little bit more mild. Again, we've got that warm, humid air out in the eastern plains to deal with for severe weather. Future track now for Thursday. That cold front is going to continue to push through the state. The area of low pressure to our north that moved in off of the coast, that's still going to wrap some moisture across the state. So we're going to stay a little bit cooler on Thursday, pretty cloudy, and likely still going to see some isolated showers. I don't think they're going to be nearly as much coverage out of these storms as what we've seen over the past couple, but still some isolated showers, thunderstorms likely. 62 degrees tomorrow for your daytime high, 63 in the capital, and cooling off to the 70s in the eastern plains. By Friday, still cooler air settles in, putting us about 6 to 7 degrees below average for a good chunk of central Montana, a little bit more mild throughout the plains. Over the next 7 days, here's how all of that comes together. Again, another round of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon, primarily in the eastern plains. A couple of lingering showers on Thursday. Now, as we head into the weekend, we're still going to continue to likely see some of those sporadic, isolated afternoon showers and thunderstorms. The main reason behind that, we've got a lot of surface moisture and ground moisture to deal with, so they're not going to be nearly as widespread, but isolated showers and thunderstorms pretty much through the weekend. Shannon.
All right, thanks, Jason. It's 5:22 on your Wednesday. Still to come on Montana this morning, bumper cars, or in this case, bumper tables, aren't just for kids anymore. How one restaurant is integrating these inner tubes. Next.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
Welcome back. It's 5:24. Diners in a Maryland beach town are bouncing back into eating out with a little bit of help from inflatable inner tubes on wheels.
That's right. The Baltimore-based company rolled out bumper tables that allow people to keep 6 feet away from each other while eating, drinking, talking, you know, the whole 9 yards amid all this coronavirus craziness.
The devices feature, of course, a hole in the middle for people to stand, and participants can use those wheels attached on the bottom to move around everywhere. The company's CEO says the tables are a fun way to keep some distance there while still getting out and enjoying. That just looks fun. Like, I would
100%.
love to do that just because I would have fun.
I don't know how I could, like,
being a child and
there's no
bumping
way
in.
I could eat my food, though. Or
No.
anybody else around me, for that matter, because I would just...
You would be
Yeah.
we would be no one would want to be by us because
100%. I would be like the bumper table troll. That's how, you ever do bumper boats as a kid?
Yeah.
I was always the troll where I'd be like off in no man's land and then like, and then just boom.
Little shark there.
Yeah, it'd be the same thing with bumper tables.
I could
People's
see
food
that.
flying everywhere, you know, right when everybody starts to settle down. 100%.
That looks a lot of fun, though.
It does.
I appreciate the efforts to
Yeah.
make that like, okay, let's open things back up, but let's make it a little more fun to keep people separated.
Right.
I
Yep,
like it.
there you go.
Yes.
Minding all the guidelines and doing it in a fun manner.
Yes.
There you go. Okay, cloudy skies throughout central Montana, pretty decent amount of rain over the Rocky Mountain front. The last remaining strong cell is north of Havre right now. That should be moving out of the area. We'll still see some lingering showers. So again, can't hit on this enough. Rapid snowmelt. We've had pretty warm temperatures, and we've still got a lot of significant snowpack in the mountains. You throw those elements together, and yeah, that's what's going to crank off pretty rapid snowmelt. You throw some rain on top of it, so definitely going to be keeping an eye on water levels over the next day or so here. 66 for your daytime high. We are going to cool off, which will help with the snow melt, but obviously still well above freezing, so keep that in mind there. As we head toward the weekend here in the capital, 67 today, 50s. We are looking at clearing conditions this weekend, but a couple of isolated showers, thunderstorms still not out of the mix even this weekend.
Well, the farm industry is planning a virtual new conference, and Memorial Day weekend gas prices are the cheapest in nearly 20 years.
Yeah, good news for our Beartooth Pass trip, right?
Adventure.
Jane King is in New York with those stories and more.
The cost of gasoline in the U.S. will be the cheapest in nearly 20 years on a Memorial Day weekend. The average cost per gallon in the U.S. is $1.87, according to AAA. It's the first time the national average has been below $2 heading into the holiday weekend since 2003, when it was $1.50 per gallon. Well, the American Farm Bureau welcomes the announcement by President Trump detailing how the $16 billion in direct payments to farmers from the Coronavirus Food Assistance Program will be distributed. Now, the payments will go directly to farmers who have suffered a 5% or greater price loss and who are facing significant marketing costs due to the virus. Eligible commodities include cattle, hog, dairy, specialty crops, and row crops. Well, the Trump administration has ended a 2-year rent holiday for solar and wind projects operating on federal lands, handing them retroactive bills. Reuters reports the move represents a multi-million-dollar hit to the industry that has already seen installation projects canceled or delayed by the health crisis. The solar, wind, and geothermal products are on federal lands. And Farm Journal announced the launch of a major new COVID-conscious farm show experience. It's called Farm Journal Field Days. It sets for August 25th through the 27th. It will be on farms in eastern Iowa and northwest Ohio. The interactive Farm Journal Field Days include a 3-day virtual pavilion that runs concurrent with full-day on-farm demonstrations and programming. From New York, I'm Jane King with your Ag and Energy Report.
I certainly expect out-of-state visitors to take this seriously as Montanans have.
Another step forward, the governor announces phase 2 reopening plans. Plus, a long-standing Great Falls summer tradition has been canceled. And later, after school was canceled across the state this year, it's left many parents wondering what the next few months will bring for children's activities. We'll check in on the status of summer camps. Montana This Morning starts now.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is Montana This Morning from Montana's news leader.
Good morning. Thanks for starting your Wednesday off with us. I'm Shannon New.
And I'm Jason Laird. So Shannon, are you a Price is Right fan?
I am a Price is Right fan.
Okay, so get this. I've got a cliffhanger forecast today. Are you ready for this?
Ooh.
Carter, pull it up.
I wish we
Worked on
could
this
steal
yesterday.
the music to do it.
I know, I wish we could, but well, we can't play music, all the rights and stuff. Okay,
Right.
so what this graphic is going to tell us, which today isn't that interesting because we're not that far from normal, but I downloaded this yesterday and kind of reworked it a little bit. So Great Falls, how far from normal today? Let's see.
Price is Right.
Ah,
rules.
nothing. Forecasted high is
So,
66.
Literally no
and-
cliffhanger.
yeah, really, nothing going on. As for right now, on the U.S. Bank ICAM, 50 degrees and cloudy. Some area showers continue. And the cliffhanger forecast for the capital, 1 degree. It's like I said, today is
How
not that
exciting.
entertaining, but I found that graphic online through our provider. I was like, I got to get that. That's too much fun. 50 degrees in the capital right now. Pretty darn cloudy. Looks like it is raining in that area as we speak. Forecast headlines moving forward. More thunderstorms today, primarily east of Lewistown and east of Havre. Cooler temperatures. I mean, there's literally carbon copy of the headlines from yesterday, exactly the same. And clearing up slightly this weekend. We'll talk more about today's systems, when they're expected to kick off, where they're expected to kick off, and some of the concerns. Forecast coming up shortly. Shannon.
All right, thanks, Jason. Time now is 5:31. There are 6 new COVID-19 cases in Ravalli County. All of those cases are in men. These 6 cases, along with the 7th in that county, are all connected, and travel is suspected to have played a role. 1 person is hospitalized. 3 additional tests are outstanding that are connected to this investigation. That brings the statewide total to 476. Still, about 92% of people have recovered so far from coronavirus. Governor Steve Bullock announced Tuesday that Montana will start the next phase of its reopening from COVID-19 related shutdowns on June 1st. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian has a closer look at what will change in phase 2.
Governor Steve Bullock said Tuesday that Montana remains in a better position than many other states when it comes to COVID-19, and that allows leaders to begin planning for the second phase of reopening the state. Bullock says phase 2 will start on June 1st, just under 2 weeks away. That means restaurants, bars, breweries, and casinos can operate at 75% capacity, with social distancing still in place. Gatherings of up to 50 people will be allowed instead of 10. Even larger groups may be possible if distancing can be maintained and public health leaders agree. In addition, Bullock announced Montana will lift the 14-day quarantine that has been required for visitors coming from other states. He says the state will employ a robust public health plan in tourist communities, including surveillance testing for COVID-19. Bullock said the success of the reopening will depend on residents and visitors alike continuing to follow health precautions.
Look, every step that we take beyond a stay-at-home order and closing down all businesses indeed presents risk of more transmission. I certainly expect out-of-state visitors to take this seriously as Montanans have.
Earlier in the day, Bullock toured a state stockpile in Helena, which currently includes hundreds of thousands of N95 masks, other personal protective equipment, and COVID-19 testing kits. He said these supplies will be crucial as Montana continues to open up.
By and large, compared to where we were even 6 weeks ago, we're in a great position, and we're prepared to keep our healthcare providers and first responders equipped all throughout COVID-19.
In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
The governor said the health precautions he's asking all Montanans and visitors to continue doing must be part of a, quote, new normal in the state. Cascade County commissioners have voted to cancel the 2020 Montana State Fair due to COVID-19. The fair was scheduled to run July 24th through August 1st at the Montana Expo Park in Great Falls. County Commissioner Jane Weber says this will help them prepare for a better fair next year.
You know, it would be a much changed state fair, and I think we could do better by sprucing up the grounds, sprucing up the buildings, getting some projects accomplished with the taxpayer money so that we're bigger and better next year.
The commissioners also suggested planning a smaller event for the community once the governor announces Phase 3. It's Wednesday, May 20th. The time now is 5:35. Coming up on Montana This Morning as Montana moves towards Phase 2. What does that mean for sporting events? We'll learn more about the future of rodeos.
And later in your weather forecast, we are still tracking some pretty decent showers today. A lot of that is going to shift east, though. So as for excessive rainfall, possibly throughout the eastern plains, and still looking at a slight chance into northwestern Montana as well, which is going to ramp up the snowmelt. We'll take a closer look at today's systems shortly.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
Thanks for staying with us. It's 5:38. With parents having to work from home while also providing childcare, summer camps will be a much-needed lifeline for many families. COVID restrictions have caused some programs to be canceled this summer and left many more up in the air. MTN's Andy Curtis has more on the programs and parents who are finding a way forward through this uncertainty.
Fridge calendars are looking pretty bare as many parents try to figure out just what's available for their children this summer.
Typically by end of March, I actually have an entire spreadsheet with every week lined out where they're going to be, trying to mix up a variety of camps for them to go to, like sports camps or educational camps. And right now that spreadsheet is empty.
Although there have been summer camps and programs canceled, there are still many organizations moving forward with their summer camp plans. Exploration Works here in Helena has been working with County Public Health to safely provide their camps. The Science Museum has developed a plan that will change depending on which phase of reopening the state is in, and are offering liberal refund options to encourage parents to keep kids home if they're not feeling well.
Most parents are just like, please tell me this is happening. So we're happy to say, yes, we're moving forward with it, and it gives the kids something to look forward to, and parents maybe some relief.
After homeschooling for the past 2 months, the services provided by these camps is needed now more than ever. For the kids, it's a great way to socialize while learning some new skills. And for the parents, it provides a much needed break.
Personally, I just got the news last week that the summer program that I was going to have my kids participate in for the most part of the summer was canceled. And so now I'm scrambling just like all the other parents to try to find different activities and childcare in a safe way. And so I'm glad my kids are coming to camps for a few weeks here at XWorks, but piecing the rest of the summer together is hard.
There's just this constant unknown out there right now. And I feel like we just have to be flexible and patient and have grace and maybe sign them up for some things that we know they would be interested in, and just hope that it's all going to work out and maybe I get a little peace and quiet.
Reporting from Helena, MTN News team of Andy Curtis and John Riley.
Well, the news that Montana could soon move to phase 2 of reopening offers some hope for the pro rodeo circuit to begin its season. In a meeting with the governor's office on Monday, a Montana PRCA task force, which consists of rodeo officials from across the state, confirmed that rodeos can move forward in phase 2 with proper social distancing and sanitation guidelines in place. 6 of the 33 rodeos on the Montana circuit have already been canceled, including all rodeos in June. You can find more details about the potential return of pro rodeo at montanasports.com. There is some good news for baseball players. Coming up tonight at 7, the Helena Senators will play host to the Missoula Mavericks in both the teams' first game of the season. It was all smiles at practice on Tuesday as both players and coaches reveled in the fact that they will officially have a season.
Up next in your weather forecast, we are tracking another round of severe thunderstorms this afternoon and evening. Currently, the stronger cells are finally moving north into Canada. We are still tracking pretty decent rain in the Rocky Mountain front, though, this morning. As for your hour-by-hour forecast, if you want to hit the links today, well, rain early today, cloudy around the noon hour, stronger storms again this afternoon, and the mid-60s for the capital. Mid-50s today, and then struggling to get into the 60s with more storms. We'll talk about them next.
Now, here's your Storm Tracker weather forecast with Jason Laird.
Well, good morning, friends. Man, we're dealing with another very humid morning throughout the area. So we're starting things off with our dew point temperature. So the closer the dew point temperature is to the actual air temperature, the more saturated the air. And I'll tell you why that matters besides the sticky factor, that nasty feeling when you get out of the shower, yeah, that sort of deal. Anyway, so 47 degrees, 50 is the actual air temperature. So very, very saturated air. That's what's going to help continue some of the stronger storms here this morning and kick off stronger storms again this afternoon. Daytime highs in the 60s throughout the plains, cooler though throughout central Montana. As for today's highs, looking at the mid-80s, I should say, as we move off into later in the afternoon, and still a little bit cooler then to take us into this afternoon here in central Montana, looking at the low to mid-60s there. As for today's severe weather outlook, we are still dealing with the possibility of some pretty strong storms. Today's focus shifts a little bit further east. That's not to say we won't get a few little isolated stronger cells in central Montana, but really the heavy hitters are going to stay out in the eastern plains today. We've got a lot of energy to work with out there. So here's how the day is going to play out. We'll continue to see pretty heavy showers along the Rocky Mountain front, northwestern Montana. Good news for the drought. However, we've still got a lot of snowpack in the mountains, and you throw that, moisture on top of that, and obviously the warmer temperatures, we get pretty rapid snow melt, which is potentially going to cause a little flooding throughout the area. As for the rain today, not a ton. We'll stay kind of scattered through the noon hour. Then this afternoon, that's when it's going to kind of ramp back up. Today's storms probably not going to have quite the coverage as what we saw yesterday, a lot of which are going to kick up late this afternoon and evening, moving throughout central Montana. Now, again, the strongest storms are going to basically stay from Havre, Lewistown east. You'll notice these little cells, they don't look super impressive on the future track, but those are going to be the ones that really are going to pack a punch, damaging hail, strong wind, that sort of thing. And to help kind of trigger some of the rain in our area, a cold front's going to be ducking through tonight as well. That will just provide one more trigger effect to kick off some stronger storms. Mid-40s for overnight lows, couple of 50s there throughout the eastern plains. Tomorrow, that cold front will continue to push through the region. The upper level low there, that's still going to wrap some moisture across the state even on Thursday. Showers are going to be more scattered on Thursday, but still going to be lingering into the afternoon. Relatively cloudy skies, scattered showers as Thursday plays out as well. We'll see daytime highs on Thursday, a little bit cooler, low 60s throughout central Montana, trying to stay in the 70s there throughout the eastern plains by Friday. A little bit cooler as well as that colder air mass continues to kind of funnel across the state. Here's how all of that's going to come together over the next 7 days. We're going to see those afternoon showers and thunderstorms today. Again, the strongest storms are expected to stay in eastern Montana. Lingering showers on Thursday. As we head into the weekend, we're still going to have the possibility of some afternoon and evening isolated thunderstorms. The coverage should not be nearly as widespread, and what's going to kick off this weekend storms is the fact that we've just got a lot of ground moisture to work with. So as that evaporates, it's going to kick off some showers and thunderstorms through the Memorial Day weekend, but temperatures finally bumping up a couple of notches by Sunday and Monday. Shannon?
Thanks, Jason. It's 5:47. Still to come on Montana This Morning. Brides are going virtual to say yes to the dress. How some bridal salons are adjusting to keep wedding planning on track. But before we head to break, here's a look at this morning's Congrats to Grads.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
10 minutes now to the top of the hour, 5:50 here on your Wednesday. And for brides-to-be, picking the dress can be a pretty fun but also stressful part of the wedding planning process.
It is stressful.
It's a little, because it's something you think about for, you dream of this moment or whatever, and then you have to try to find the dress.
Now amidst coronavirus concerns and retail shutdowns, brides and wedding shops are trying something a little different.
You haven't tried on any wedding dresses yet?
No, not recently at least, yeah.
Oh, story time later. All right, CBS's Naomi Retcham shows us dress shopping from home.
Paige Kuskovich and her fiancé John O'Laughlin are moving forward with their December wedding, hoping the coronavirus will have subsided by then. But right now, the pandemic is creating challenges.
Wow.
Like getting the dress.
Did you ever imagine you would be trying on a wedding dress through a computer?
No, of course not. I imagined that I'd be going to the salon with my family and my bridesmaids. Do I do it in inches?
Lovely Bride sent Kuskovich a measuring tape to work with one of their stylists remotely.
And Paige, does that feel right? Like that's the small waist?
Right here.
Yeah, perfect.
Then it was time to try on some dresses and get the clamps in the right place to make it fit. Like so many businesses, Lovely Bride went online when it had to pause in-person fittings.
We've become online app experts.
Founder Lainey List says clients, friends, and family can still be a part of that shopping entourage virtually.
We take full advantage of technology to make sure everyone could do voting and polling and the fun things that make people laugh during this experience.
And other companies are doing it too.
We're trying to make the experience really fun.
Bridal designer Kelly Faitanini is selling directly to brides for the first time while salons are closed.
We definitely had to shift gears, revise our processes, our systems, set up new team members. We can talk about alterations.
Kuskovich says her appointment was a success.
So did you pick a dress?
I did, yes.
Yay!
Holding to tradition, she didn't want to reveal it completely, but gave us a peek from the back and is looking forward to wearing it on her wedding day. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
So I will say that I got in, and so I
you
shopped.
were pre-corona craziness.
Barely.
Barely.
So I shopped locally and bought locally, but I got mine ordered, I think it was 2 days before
seriously?
the shutdown. Yeah, so
I
I was at the point where, I second guessing whatever. I'm like, maybe
Yeah.
I should have shopped around more, but I was kind of on that deadline too, where it was like, okay, well, I got it in because they take a few months to get from these places. So mine hopefully will be here in July.
I can't even imagine. I tried ordering suits online, and that's a nightmare. Like, granted, I didn't have somebody there like, okay, measure this, do that, but what a pain.
Right, but neat that, in my case, being a bride-to-be, I would have been like, what do I do now if I would have waited any longer to get in? So it's cool that they're
Take a bed sheet and just kind of trim it up.
Yeah, he says I'm just going to look like I'm wearing a bed sheet.
No, I didn't say that. No, I never said that. That is a lie.
I've heard that whole.
Okay, Gar, roll the thing here. Let the hate mail commence here.
goodness.
Jeez, I didn't say that.
You said that.
Never once did I
wedding
say you're
dresses
going to look like a
bed
bed
sheets.
sheet. No, I said you could take a bed sheet.
Oh.
Okay, these are the water flows around the area. Streams so far not reading. I never said that. I want proof of this. Anyways, fishing forecast. Ashley, our camera operator's dying. Okay, fishing forecast not looking great over the next couple of days. Afternoon showers, thunderstorms continue. A little bit better here this weekend. At least you can get out and enjoy about half the day or so. 66 for your daytime high. Looking at the 50s as we head toward Friday. A little bit warmer than again this weekend. 67 today in the capital. Cloudy with a couple of showers and cooling off toward Friday.
All right, your
Don't
Farm
believe Shannon. She's full of fake news.
Wow.
Well, hey, you did. You're
Your
making
Farm
up
and Ranch
stories.
report is next, though. This morning, another step forward. The governor announces phase 2 reopening plans. Plus, a long-standing Great Falls summer tradition has been canceled. And later, navigating the new world of motherhood can be challenging enough. We'll hear from new moms in the midst of coronavirus concerns. Montana This Morning starts now.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is Montana This Morning from Montana's news leader.
Good morning. Thanks for starting off your Wednesday with us. It's May 20th. I'm Shannon Newth.
I'm Jason Laird. Still tracking a couple of showers and thunderstorms out there even at this hour. We had a few when I rolled into work this morning, a few severe thunderstorm warnings. Those have all expired.
Okay.
But we'll likely see another round here later this afternoon as well.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, we talked about it on Monday that this week was kind of going to be up and down in terms of rain, possible storm chances, things like that.
Yeah, it's pretty consistent. You know, a buddy of mine who's storm chasing, he always takes Memorial Day weekend, week off. Always
good
for
storm chasing
Yep,
time?
every year you always get that first wave of thunderstorms throughout the area. Had some pretty decent ones last night, as you know, still tracking some on the Doppler here at this hour. We have one little cell there north of Chester. It's losing strength, but still a little crack of thunder or two, and pretty healthy clouds out there. U.S. Bank ICAM sitting at about 50 degrees right now, some wind out of the northwest, very humid out there. Hour by hour forecast, we'll see off and on showers this morning, then cloudy through the noon hour, more stronger storms again this afternoon. Raining in the capital on the Opportunity Bank ICAM, 50 degrees, some wind out of the west, also very humid and nasty out there. We'll see more showers again this afternoon after a slight break in the action here through the noon hour. So forecast headlines, we're looking at more thunderstorms, pretty much a carbon copy of yesterday. Cooler temperatures continue, but we will clear up a little bit this weekend. We'll take a closer look at your forecast shortly. Shannon.
All right, thanks, Jason. The time now is 6:02 here on your Wednesday. There are 6 new COVID-19 cases in Ravalli County. All of those cases are in men. The 6 cases, along with the 7th in that county, are all connected, and travel is suspected to have played a role. One person is hospitalized. There are also 3 additional tests outstanding that are connected to this investigation. That brings the statewide total to 476. Still, about 92% of people have recovered so far from coronavirus. Governor Bullock announced that starting on June 1st, Montana will begin phase 2 of its reopening in the wake of COVID-19 related shutdowns imposed back in March. As outlined by the governor at a Capitol News conference, phase 2 will allow restaurants, bars, breweries, and casinos to operate at 75% capacity with social distancing still in place. Gatherings of up to 50 people instead of 10 also will be allowed, and perhaps larger ones if social distancing can be maintained. And the governor says the state will be lifting the 14-day quarantine that had been required of out-of-state visitors coming to the state. As the state tourism season begins, Bullock says the state will employ what he called a robust public health plan in tourist communities, including surveillance testing for COVID-19. Yet, he also said the success of the plan will rely on visitors as well as Montanans adhering to health precautions, such as wearing masks in place of public contact and washing hands frequently.
Look, every step that we take beyond a stay-at-home order and closing down all businesses indeed presents risk of more transmission. And I certainly expect out-of-state visitors to take this seriously as Montanans have.
The governor said the health precautions he's asking all Montanans and visitors to continue doing are part of a, quote, new normal in the state. Cascade County commissioners have voted to cancel the 2020 Montana State Fair due to COVID-19. The fair was scheduled to run through July 24th through August 1st at the Montana Expo Park in Great Falls. County Commissioner Jane Weber says this will help them prepare for a better fair next year.
You know, it would be a much changed state fair, and I think we could do better by sprucing up the grounds, sprucing up the buildings, getting some projects accomplished with the taxpayer money so that we're bigger and better next year.
The commissioners also suggested planning a smaller event for the community once the governor announces phase 3. Well, it's now easier for small businesses to apply for forgiveness for Paycheck Protection Program loans. On May 15th, the Small Business Administration released the PPP loan forgiveness application, which will also allow small businesses to change those loans into grants. Guidelines were published by the U.S. Department of the Treasury, state that loan amounts can be forgiven as long as at least 75% of those funds were used to cover payroll costs. There are a number of rules and guidelines laid out in the application and instruction document, which can be found on the SBA and U.S. Treasury websites. Great Falls Development Authority Senior Vice President Jolene Schalper says that the Small Business Administration had been planning to do this all along before the application and instructions came out, though it wasn't as clear how the process would work.
What it does is it lays out the guidelines for exactly how you can take that SBA loan, the PPP loan, and make it forgivable, so a grant. And some of it includes the tracking of expenses. We're recommending that if you haven't already, it would be advisable to make sure that your PPP is in a separate account.
The Great Falls Development Authority has small business development coaches and advisors that can help you decide what's best for your business. It is Wednesday. The time now is 6:06. Coming up on Montana This Morning, the race. With just a couple of weeks until ballots are due, we're continuing to introduce you to the candidates in the state's top contests.
And later in your weather forecast, a big area of low pressure still spilling quite an amount of moisture across the state, especially today in eastern Montana. That's where we'll see the strongest storms. 50 degrees in Great Falls, 50 in the capital with scattered showers over the foothills. More on your forecast is coming up.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
Welcome back. With just 2 weeks until Montana's primary election day, the first big outside money spending is showing up in the race for governor. The Washington, D.C. based group Emily's List, which supports women candidates, has brought nearly $700,000 in broadcast and digital ads to support Democrat Whitney Williams. Williams is competing against Lieutenant Governor Mike Cooney in the Democratic primary for governor. The ad, which started airing this week in several urban markets, focuses on Williams' opposition to proposed Black Butte copper mine north of White Sulphur Springs. Emily's List says its independent expenditure arm, Women Vote, has paid for the ads to run until the June 2nd election day. MTN's Jay Cohn has the latest on the Democratic battle for the governor's mansion.
More than 120,000 Montanans have already voted and mailed back their ballots, so decision time is here. At the top of the Democratic ticket, the governor's race so far has been a light hitting contest, but that's about to change. With the Emily's List Super PAC making a $700,000 ad buy this week in support of Williams, observers take that as a sign the race is tightening. Eric Fever with the Montana Public Employees Association supports Cooney, who he believes has the best chance of winning in November against likely GOP nominee Greg Gianforte. If Williams wins, he believes she'll face a big hill to climb come November. Aaron Murphy with the Montana League of Conservation Voters says both candidates are conservation champions. He's backing Williams, but his organization has not made an endorsement in the race.
Every time this state has been traveling in the right direction, Mike Cooney, as a public servant, has been in the cockpit. So his record is very strong. It brings a lot of experience to the table. Whitney Williams, who I should note was our board vice chair before she stepped down to run for this position, also a strong conservation record, and brings a different perspective from a business point of view, and a lot of experience in Montana. So both of those folks, I think, are very strong contenders when it comes to the conservation side of things.
Veteran Democratic lawmaker Dave Wanzenreed, himself a past candidate for governor, is backing Cooney. He believes if Williams wins, her ties to Hillary Clinton could become a big distraction and focal point in the November general election. Both Fever and Wanzenreed say the new ad buy for Williams, focusing on her pledge to protect the Smith River, may be too late, especially given the large number of voters who have already cast ballots. Time will tell. Those ballots, by the way, are due back into your local election office no later than June 2nd. In Billings, I'm Jay Cohn reporting for MTN News.
Well, up next in your weather forecast, we are tracking some lingering showers along the Rocky Mountain front. All the stronger systems have pretty much moved out of the region. Going to stay a little bit cloudy through the noon hour. More storms then again this afternoon. As for your garden forecast, shouldn't have to water today. Play it by ear here for the remainder of the week as we are still tracking scattered showers and thunderstorms and some cooler temperatures as we head toward the weekend. We'll take a look at today's passing systems coming up after the break.
Now, here's your Storm Tracker weather forecast with Jason Laird.
Good morning, everybody. Tracking another very humid start to the day. So we're starting things off with dew point temperatures. This kind of helps us determine just how saturated the air is. So 47 degrees in Great Falls is the dew point temperature, factoring in the air temperature, only about 3 degrees difference. So very, very saturated out there. Temperatures right now pushing the 60s throughout the eastern plains, low 50s and high 40s throughout central and north central Montana. Warming up to the 60s today, so we're going to have enough daytime heating to kick off another round of showers and thunderstorms, especially throughout the eastern plains there with temperatures in the mid 80s today. So with that said, severe weather forecast, most of the severe weather is going to stay east of Havre and Lewistown. That's not to say we won't get a few little stronger isolated cells throughout central Montana, but really the main damaging wind, large hail, localized flooding should take place more into eastern and northeastern Montana today. We've got a lot more weather elements in that area to work with. So we're going to still see some rain over the Rocky Mountain front this morning and cloudy conditions, more just in the way of clouds, maybe a couple of light showers through the noon hour. Then this afternoon, we're going to start to see those stronger storms start to boil up again, most of which again will stay east of Lewistown. You'll notice these little cells, they don't look overly impressive on future track, but those are going to be the systems that will potentially kick off some severe thunderstorms this afternoon into northeastern Montana. Then later in the evening, we're going to see some colder air move in. That will again help to kick off some overnight showers throughout central Montana. Overnight lows a little bit cooler, 45 degrees in Great Falls. Same story for the capital, and looking at the mid to low 50s throughout the eastern plains. Tomorrow, that colder air will continue to pass across the state. That upper level low pressure cell, it's going to continue to wrap that moisture across the state. So even on Thursday, we're still going to see some isolated showers, isolated thunderstorms throughout the area, but probably not quite as widespread or quite as strong as what we've seen over the past couple of days. Starting to clear up a little bit then Thursday afternoon. We'll likely see, or evening I should say, we'll see daytime highs on Thursday in the low 60s for central Montana, slightly more mild temperatures there in eastern Montana, and a little bit chillier as Friday rolls around, kind of giving you an idea of the big picture here. We've got a couple of cold fronts that have made their way through, so we're up to Friday now. That area of low pressure is going to start to move out of the area. We'll likely still see some wraparound moisture, which will kick off a couple of showers and or thunderstorms even as we head into the weekend. But the good news is by Sunday, Monday, high pressure is going to return to the forecast, and that's going to really move that weather maker out and keep things a little bit more mild for us as we head toward Memorial Day. So 66 and isolated showers and thunderstorms again today. A little bit better chance of just showers on Thursday. Will stay kind of cloudy and slightly stormy as we head toward the weekend. Really the main driving factor behind the weekend storms is just the fact that we've got a lot of saturated ground, and daytime heating will evaporate things and kick off a few afternoon showers and thunderstorms, but warmer by Memorial Day. Shannon?
All right, thanks, Jason. It's 6:18 now, and for new moms or moms-to-be, there may be a lot of questions what to expect at the hospital right now. MTN's Phoenix O'Connor asked some newly minted experts for advice.
When it comes to having a baby during the pandemic, things are a little different. MTN asked 2 Montana moms for advice for new moms. Christina Gavin gave birth to her 4th baby, Lauren Simonich her 2nd. Of course, things were a little different.
Restrictions at the hospital. I couldn't have, my whole support team there. It was just me and my husband, which actually turned out to be really nice.
Positively speaking, it was kind of nice not to have that pressure of everyone wanting to visit your baby right away.
What advice would you say to a woman that's maybe in her 3rd trimester and is due any day now? What kind of things would you suggest maybe they should kind of prepare for here in Montana?
Definitely put faith in your medical staff, whether it be like your pediatrician 3 weeks after birth or right there during birth.
Prepare to wear a mask. If you have one already that you prefer to wear, probably bring that one in. But honestly, I wouldn't worry too much. The professionals in the hospitals they're wonderful.
Simonich tells me the mask did create some challenges.
We had to wear masks the whole time, which was interesting, even during the labor. point, the nurse actually came by and ripped it off my face because I was having a hard time breathing.
Gavian says she feels it's best for others to keep their space.
Keep your distance. That's not your baby, and you don't know if you're a carrier, that you just are asymptomatic or non-symptomatic. Even through the pandemic and beyond this, it's not your babies. Keep your space.
For MTN News, I'm Phoenix O'Connor.
Johnson & Johnson is ending sales of its talc-based baby powder in the U.S. and Canada. The company has faced more than 19,000 lawsuits alleging the product causes cancer. Johnson & Johnson insists the talc baby powder is safe and will still sell in its other countries. The company also says it will still allow retailers to sell current inventory of the product until they run out. It's 6:20 here on your Wednesday. Coming up on Montana This Morning, bumper cars, or in this case, bumper tables, aren't just for kids anymore. How one restaurant is integrating these inner tubes. Next.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
5 minutes away from the bottom of the hour here. Now it's 6:26, so 4 minutes away, technically.
Keep up with the time, Shannon.
Yes. All right. Diners in a Maryland beach town are bouncing back, quite literally, into eating out with a little help from some inflatable inner tubes on wheels.
Neat. The Baltimore based company rolled out bumper tables that allow people to keep 6 feet away from each other while eating and talking in social settings amid coronavirus concerns.
I'm surprised no one's fallen down that
I
ramp.
would just lift my legs up and ride it
just
down
go.
and hope for the best.
Yeah, so the device, of course, has that hole in the middle where people can stand and then wheels that you can move yourself around there attached to the bottom. The company's CEO says the tables are a fun way to maintain some distance and still enjoy social settings. I think it's a brilliant idea.
Oh, 100%.
And super fun. And we talked about this earlier in the show, but I think Jason and I would probably both get kicked out for just being obnoxious and running into other people, or even just each other, but we'd be
and like I was saying earlier, with bumper boats, that's the best example I have. I was always kind of that troll, hanging out in the distance. Nobody really expects me or suspects me.
I don't think anyone is shocked to hear that.
Next thing you know, boom, there I come. So it'd be no different. Somebody would just be starting to eat their lunch, and then boom.
Oh, that sounds
food
mean.
goes flying
Wait
everywhere.
till they're not putting a bite in their mouth.
Well, I wouldn't do it right that second.
When they're trying to chew it.
I don't know. Still be really, really entertaining though.
Watch out for
now
you.
They just need to confine it in like a ring, like bumper cars at the fair,
The water being so close is a little dangerous, probably.
Well, at least you wouldn't drown. You got a big floaty around.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, it'd be uncomfortable, but With that said, I don't know where that was a bad transition. With that said, anyways, still tracking rain over the Rocky Mountain front today, which could ramp up the snow melt throughout the region. We'll see another round of isolated showers and thunderstorms, but with all the rain recently, our pollen forecast pretty minimal today. Going to start bumping things up a couple of notches on Thursday and Friday, kind of high on Saturday due to some drier weather finally moving in. But again, with all that rain, something we got to keep in the back of our mind is this snowpack. I know kind of hammering this in here, but you got to keep in mind warmer temperatures are going to kick off the snow melt, and you throw some rain on top of it. Rapid snow melt, and we all know how that is here in central Montana. Was not meaning to do the garden forecast, but that's okay. Here in central Montana, you know how that is. The streams and creeks run pretty high at the drop of a hat. So shouldn't have to water today, maybe a little bit over the next couple of days.
All right, well, before we head to break here's this morning's Congrats to Grads.
I certainly expect out-of-state visitors to take this seriously as Montanans have.
Forward, the governor announces phase 2 reopening plans. Plus, a long-standing Great Falls summer tradition has been canceled. And later, after school was canceled across the state this year, it's left many parents wondering what the next few months will bring for children's activities. We'll check in on the status of summer camps. Montana This Morning starts now.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is Montana This Morning from Montana's news leader.
We're glad to have you with us on this Wednesday. I'm Shannon New.
I'm Jason Laird, still tracking a couple of lingering showers and thunderstorms this early. We had some actually severe thunderstorm warnings bright and early this morning, like 2 a.m.
Okay.
Pretty impressive photos
Maybe that's
coming
what
in
woke
as
me
well.
up.
Was it?
Oh no, I would have had to have been awake before then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never
Anyways,
mind. I was
yeah.
at work then.
And with all the moisture, I don't know where she's going with that, but that's okay. With all the moisture across the area, we are starting off a little bit foggy in a lot of areas. Not bad here, the capital a little bit more so. We're starting to see the visibility bump up a couple of notches in Great Falls. Limited visibilities for the capital. Lewistown very foggy right now as well. Some fog being reported near Cutbank. So right now on the radar, not tracking a ton, but still a little bit of a little bit. Man, my grammar's off this morning. A few mountain showers throughout the area. The stronger storms there north of Chester dying down. And yeah, we're bringing back the cliffhanger forecast here, Shannon.
Just need the music.
I just made this yesterday and I was super excited about it, but today basically it's showing us the forecasted high versus the normal high. It's not very impressive today because there's
literally
really
no cliffhanger.
Much of a difference there. 50 degrees in the capital. Cliffhanger forecast for the capital here. 68. And man, this is bad. This is really brutal. Anyways, raining in the capital right now, 50 degrees, some wind out of the west. Forecast headlines moving forward, kind of carbon copy of yesterday. Afternoon showers and thunderstorms, cooler temperatures, but warmer as we head toward the weekend. Shannon?
All right, thanks, Jason. It is now 6:32. Governor Steve Bullock announced that Montana will start the next phase of its reopening from COVID-19 related shutdowns on June 1st. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian has a closer look at what will change in phase 2.
Governor Steve Bullock said Tuesday that Montana remains in a better position than many other states when it comes to COVID-19, and that allows leaders to begin planning for the second phase of reopening the state. Bullock says phase 2 will start on June 1st, just under 2 weeks away. That means restaurants, bars, breweries, and casinos can operate at 75% capacity, with social distancing still in place. Gatherings of up to 50 people will be allowed instead of 10. Even larger groups may be possible if distancing can be maintained and public health leaders agree. In addition, Bullock announced Montana will lift the 14-day quarantine that has been required for visitors coming from other states. He says the state will employ a robust public health plan in tourist communities, including surveillance testing for COVID-19. Bullock said the success of the reopening will depend on residents and visitors alike continuing to follow health precautions.
Look, every step that we take beyond a stay-at-home order and closing down all businesses indeed presents risk of more transmission. I certainly expect out-of-state visitors to take this seriously as Montanans have.
Earlier in the day, Bullock toured a state stockpile in Helena, which currently includes hundreds of thousands of N95 masks, other personal protective equipment, and COVID-19 testing kits. He said these supplies will be crucial as Montana continues to open up.
By and large, compared to where we were even 6 weeks ago, we're in a great position, and we're prepared to keep our healthcare providers and first responders equipped all throughout COVID-19.
In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
The governor said the health precautions he's asking all Montanans and visitors to continue doing must be part of a, quote, new normal in the state. Cascade County Commissioners voted to cancel the 2020 Montana State Fair due to COVID-19. The fair was originally scheduled to run July 24th through August 1st at the Montana Expo Park in Great Falls. County Commissioner Jane Weber says this will help them prepare for a better fair next year.
You know, it would be a much changed state fair, and I think we could do better by sprucing up the grounds, sprucing up the buildings, getting some projects accomplished with the taxpayer money so that we're bigger and better next year.
Now, the commissioners also suggested planning a smaller event for the community once the governor announces phase 3. There are 6 new COVID-19 cases in Ravalli County. All of those cases are in men. The 6 cases, along with the 7th in the county, are all connected, and travel is suspected to have played a role. 1 person is hospitalized, and 3 additional tests are outstanding that are connected to this specific investigation. That brings the statewide total to 476. Still, about 92% of people have recovered so far from coronavirus. Government-mandated stay-at-home orders are being eased across the country. The last states to relax their rules were Massachusetts and Connecticut. The effort to resume normal activities comes as the nationwide COVID-19 death toll approaches 92,000 out of more than 1.5 million confirmed cases. While many things seem to be at a bit of a standstill, the outbreak isn't putting the brakes on car purchases. General Manager at Taylor's Auto Max, Dan Klaus, says they've seen steady sales over the past few months. Klaus says they've been able to take advantage of low interest rates with deals for customers. He says it's also a great time to possibly refinance an auto loan with bank confidence high for the foreseeable future. But inventory uncertainty looms as companies like GMC slowly turn the gears on production capacities.
It's really hard to forecast business needs, staffing, budgets, marketing, all of that when you're trying to guess what your sales are going to be, and especially if you don't know you're going to have anything to sell. So we're eagerly anticipating that getting better here shortly.
Klaus says they haven't seen as much inventory uncertainty from Nissan. The store furloughed employees back in March, but all have returned. We have more on how the dealership is keeping customers safe in the store and also while out on a test drive on our website. Time now is 6:37 on your Wednesday. Coming up on Montana This Morning, as we move towards phase 2 of reopening, what does that mean for sporting events? We'll learn more about the futures of rodeos.
And later in your weather forecast, we are still tracking afternoon showers and thunderstorms. The strongest storms are expected throughout the eastern plains, so your fishing forecast high today in the 60s. Rain pretty darn likely. We're going to stick with those stronger storms through Friday. Better this weekend, though. We'll tell you about it shortly.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
Thanks for staying with us. It's about 6:40 now on your Wednesday morning. With parents having to work from home while also providing childcare, summer camps will be a much-needed lifeline for many families. COVID restrictions have caused some programs to be canceled this summer, and that's left many more up in the air. MTN's Andy Curtis has more on the programs and parents who are finding a way forward through all of this uncertainty.
Fridge calendars are looking pretty bare as many parents try to figure out just what's available for their children this summer.
Typically by end of March, I actually have an entire spreadsheet with every week lined out where they're going to be, trying to mix up a variety of camps for them to go to, like sports camps or educational camps. And right now that spreadsheet is empty.
Although there have been summer camps and programs canceled, there are still many organizations moving forward with their summer camp plans. Exploration Works here in Helena has been working with County Public Health to safely provide their camps. The Science Museum has developed a plan that will change depending on which phase of reopening the state is in, and are offering liberal refund options to encourage parents to keep kids home if they're not feeling well.
Most parents are just like, please tell me this is happening. So we're happy to say, yes, we're moving forward with it. And it gives the kids something to look forward to and parents maybe some relief.
After homeschooling for the past 2 months, the services provided by these camps is needed now more than ever. For the kids, it's a great way to socialize while learning some new skills. And for the parents, it provides a much needed break.
Personally, I just got the news last week that the summer program that I was going to have my kids participate in for the most part of the summer was canceled. And so now I'm scrambling just like all the other parents to try to find different activities and childcare in a safe way. And so I'm glad because my kids are coming to camps for a few weeks here at XWorks, but piecing the rest of the summer together is hard.
There's just this constant unknown out there right now. And I feel like we just have to be flexible and patient and have grace and maybe sign them up for some things that we know they would be interested in, and just hope that it's all going to work out and maybe I get a little peace and quiet.
Reporting from Helena, MTN News team of Andy Curtis and John Riley.
One of the organizations continuing summer camps is Girl Scouts of Montana and Wyoming. Last year, they had 45 active camps. This year, they will only have 9. They will be practicing social distancing rules and following CDC guidelines. Changes could be made after evaluating camps as the summer progresses.
Of course, we were disappointed, and it's even more disappointing when you see the girls who they wait for this all year, and for some they've sold cookies in hopes of getting this camp. So it did impact us.
Now, there are a couple of things that parents should be aware of here when signing their child up for a camp. Look to see what the refund policy is and if they have to opt into any cancellation type of protections. Also see what the instructor to child ratio is, and look into any health precautions like their child needing to wear a mask that they are required by the program. Well, the news that Montana will soon move into phase 2 of reopening offers some hope for the pro rodeo circuit to begin its season. MTN's Tom Wiley explains where things stand for the PRCA after the latest developments in Montana's COVID-19 response.
On Monday morning, the future of pro rodeo in Montana looked bleak. 6 of the 33 rodeos on the circuit schedule had already been canceled with very little reprieve in sight, so the organization got proactive.
The Montana Pro Rodeo Circuit formed a task force to set up a meeting with the governor's office. We wanted a chance to make a decision to see if it was economically feasible to host a rodeo.
That meeting happened Monday afternoon. The task force held a teleconference with representatives from the governor's office and went over the financial impact of canceling rodeo and the proposal in place to hold events with strict sanitation and social distancing guidelines.
So the economic impact is great. It's over 20 million, and that doesn't even include county fairs. That's just purely rodeo. The numbers are astounding. It affects well over 350,000 people in the state of Montana.
It was originally presumed that holding a rodeo would be impossible until phase 3, but the task force confirmed that rodeos could move forward in phase 2 if following the proper guidelines.
If that is indeed the case, at least rodeos have some more to chew on, some more to consider. And
with both sides focused on public health and safety, there's optimism that Montana's signature summer sport might return in 2020.
It's the fabric of Montana. It's what makes Montana, Montana.
Tom Wiley, MTN News.
All circuit rodeos in the month of June have already been canceled, so the target date for starting the season is the July 4th weekend. There's some good news for baseball players this morning. Tonight at 7, the Helena Senators will play host to the Missoula Mavericks in both the team's first game of the season. It was all smiles at practice on Tuesday as both players and coaches reveled in the fact that they will officially have a season. The Great Northern Carousel will be reopening this afternoon, but due to the governor's restrictions in phase 1, they will only be serving ice cream. General Manager Keith Bugman says that the carousel fell under the interactive museums category in phase 1 of reopening, and for that reason, they can't allow people to use the carousel just yet. But starting today at 2 p.m. until 7 p.m., they will be open to the public and serving ice cream. You'll also notice there are some bright orange lines on the floor of the building marking proper social distancing guidelines so everyone can order while still distanced.
Up next, your weather forecast, another afternoon of showers and thunderstorms. The strongest storms are expected throughout the eastern plains. 50 degrees in Great Falls, pretty cloudy. Still tracking some showers from Helena up the Rocky Mountain front as well. A little bit drier in northeastern Montana as of now. If you've got behind with mowing, well, today probably not too good. A little bit better chance though Thursday, Friday. Saturday, yeah, still some storms, but more improvements to the weather. We'll talk about it next. Welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us on Montana This Morning, sitting at 6:49, just about 11 minutes away from 7 o'clock here on your Wednesday morning. And flood alerts are now in effect for a good chunk of the Midwest, all the way over to the Carolinas. Slow-moving storms hit parts of Michigan and Ohio on Tuesday.
Yeah, and check this out. A dam failed in Michigan's Midland County. It actually forced residents in 2 separate towns to evacuate their homes. Thankfully, no reports of any injuries there, but I can only imagine the massive amount of water in that area and 2 towns of people having to evacuate. That's a big old mess.
And they got more headed their way, so Have fun with that one. All that stuff that's
yeah.
moving through here, as soon as it makes its way toward the Midwest, it just basically hooks onto that Gulf moisture all the way from the Gulf of Mexico and just yanks it up through the Midwest. And
wow.
so yeah, you got round 2, 3, 4, something along those lines on the way.
Wow.
Very humid start to the day. So we're going to start things off once again with dew point temperatures because, yeah, you can look at humidity levels and all that, but really the most accurate way to break this down is dew point temperature. So the dew point temperature at well, I'm not going to get into that. 47 degrees in Great Falls right now. The closer this dew point temperature is to the actual air temperature, the more saturated the air. So we're only at 50 degrees. So 3-degree difference between the dew point temperature and the actual air temperature. Very, very saturated. So a very muggy start to the day. And we are tracking quite a few showers throughout the area already this morning. 66 for your daytime high in Great Falls. Quite a bit warmer throughout the eastern plains. And that warmer air is going to help to fuel stronger storms throughout the eastern plains as well. So damaging wind likely, large hail, localized flooding. That's not to say we won't get a couple little pop-up isolated cells in central Montana, but the strongest storms are expected throughout the eastern plains. We'll continue to see some early morning showers throughout the Rocky Mountain front all the way down to the capital. We'll likely kind of taper off those showers around the noon hour, still staying cloudy, still some isolated showers, but not quite as widespread. Then this afternoon, some stronger storms are going to kick off once again in south central Montana, making their way up through the state. Likely the stronger storms staying just east of Havre and Lewistown. You'll notice these storms kicking up later this evening. They don't look overly impressive on the future track, but they're going to pack a punch into that region. Then overnight, some colder air is going to move into the state, and that will help to continue showers overnight into the first part of the morning as well. So overnight lows, we're looking at about 45 degrees in Great Falls tonight, 45 in the capital, and a couple of mid-50s as we head off into the eastern plains. Come tomorrow morning, that cold front's going to continue to pass through the state. That huge upper level low pressure cell, which actually has put a big area of low pressure all over the state, will continue to wrap moisture over the state tomorrow. Now, showers tomorrow likely going to be more widespread and more sporadic throughout the area. We'll still likely see some rain, but not packing quite the punch as what we've seen over the past couple of days. Cold front will continue to pass through the state, and we'll start to see a little bit of clearing as we head toward Friday. But with that said, Thursday's highs sitting at about 62 in Great Falls, 63 in the capital, even cooler throughout the eastern plains there. Friday, not a lot of hope in sight temperature-wise either. Still some lingering moisture on Friday with cooler temperatures settling in all across the state as well. And kind of the big picture here as we head to the weekend on Friday, that area of low pressure that's been causing all the problems is going to jog up north. That colder air is going to continue to move out. We'll still see some lingering showers possibly this weekend, but especially on Sunday, high pressure is going to rebuild. That's going to bump temperatures to the next level and clear up conditions as Sunday and Monday rolls around. So the next 7 days, 66 today, a little bit cooler. Then again, Thursday, Friday, we'll start to rebound the temperatures on Saturday. Still can't rule out a couple of little isolated storms, though, as we head through the weekend, mainly due to the fact we've got so much ground moisture. And as that evaporates, it'll kick off some storms, but warmer by Memorial Day. Shannon?
All right, thanks, Jason. A late slide left stocks down for a day on Tuesday. The Dow slumped 390 points. The NASDAQ lost 49. The S&P 500 fell 30. The sell-off was ignited by a report from medical news website STAT, which said the data from a coronavirus vaccine study was insufficient. A day earlier, Moderna said its vaccine showed promise in small early-stage testing. The nation's top economic and finance chiefs warned the economy is unlikely to rebound in the near term. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell told the Senate Banking Committee Congress must continue providing fiscal relief to states, businesses, and individuals. And Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin testified there could be permanent damage if a shutdown is extended. Johnson & Johnson is ending sales of its talc-based baby powder in the U.S. and Canada. The company has faced more than 19,000 lawsuits alleging the product causes cancer. Johnson & Johnson insists the talc baby powder is safe and will still sell it in other countries. The company also says it will still allow retailers to sell current inventory of the product until they run out.
Coming up, college graduates share their concerns about the job market and lost opportunities. Plus, meet the NASA astronauts set to launch into space from American soil for the first time in 9 years. Coming up on CBS This Morning.
It's 6:57. Let's get you out the door with today's top stories on this Wednesday, May 20th, 2020. There are 6 new COVID-19 cases in Ravalli County. All 6 cases are men. Along with the 7th in that county, they're all connected, and travel is suspected to have played a role. 1 person is hospitalized. 3 additional tests are outstanding that are also connected to this particular investigation. That brings the statewide total to 476. Still, about 92% of people have recovered so far from coronavirus. Governor Bullock announced that starting on June 1st, Montana will begin phase 2 of its reopening in the wake of COVID-19 related shutdowns imposed back in March. As outlined by the governor at a Capitol News conference, phase 2 will allow restaurants, bars, breweries, and casinos to operate at 75% capacity with social distancing still in place. Gatherings of up to 50 people instead of 10 will also be allowed, and perhaps larger ones if social distancing can be maintained. The governor says the state will be lifting the 14-day quarantine that had been required for out-of-state visitors coming into the state. As the summer tourism season begins, Bullock says the state will employ what he called a robust public health plan in tourist communities, including surveillance testing for COVID-19. Cascade County Commissioners voted to cancel the 2020 Montana State Fair due to COVID-19. It was originally scheduled for July 24th through August 1st at Montana Expo Park. Commissioners suggested planning a smaller event for the community once the governor announces phase 3.
One quick check of that forecast before we head out the door here. Still tracking some rain along the Rocky Mountain front. Very humid start to the day, very muggy start. Hour by hour forecast, probably not the most conducive to hit the links here today. More thunderstorms expected here this afternoon for both Great Falls and the capital. Give you an idea of what we're looking at here as we head toward the weekend, though. A little bit of a sneak peek. Not as bad. Chance of thunderstorms pretty much both Saturday and Sunday. Looking at the low 60s and then the high 60s as we roll through the later half of the weekend. So showers and thunderstorms again today, pretty much sticking with us as we head toward the weekend, though. But slowly but surely temperatures will start to warm up on Saturday as high pressure moves in. But again, just plan for those afternoon showers and thunderstorms. Not likely as bad today as what we saw last night. And the strongest stuff is going to stay pretty much off into the northeastern plains today.
All right. Well, thanks so much for making us a part of your Wednesday. Remember, you can check us out all day long on our apps and social media.
Stick around. We got CBS This Morning coming up and a couple of updates headed your way as well. Have a great Wednesday.
If your car breaks down, you don't question taking it to a mechanic or hiring a plumber to fix leaky pipes. So why not call a professional when it comes to your mental health? They might not be visible, but mental health issues are real and make a deep impact on your life. Everyone needs help once in a while. Call your area behavioral health department and make an appointment today. They have the tools to help you find solutions and take the steps toward becoming the person you want to be.
At CBS This Morning, we're working from home.
But we continue to bring you the latest facts on the coronavirus.
From our homes to yours, we can get through this together.
Good morning, I'm Shannon Newth. It is Wednesday, May 20th, 2020. There are 6 new COVID-19 cases in Ravalli County. All of those cases are in men. These 6 cases, along with the 7th in that county, are all connected, and travel is suspected to have played a role. 1 person is hospitalized, and 3 additional tests are outstanding that are connected to this particular investigation. That brings the statewide total to 476. Still, about 92% of people have recovered so far from coronavirus. Governor Bullock announced that starting June 1st, Montana will begin phase 2 of its reopening in the wake of COVID-19 related shutdowns imposed back in March. As outlined by the governor at a Capitol News conference, phase 2 will allow restaurants, bars, breweries, and casinos to operate at 75% capacity with social distancing still in place. Gatherings of up to 50 people instead of 10 also will be allowed, and perhaps larger ones if social distancing can be maintained. The governor says the state will be lifting the 14-day quarantine that had been required for out-of-state visitors coming into Montana. As the summer tourism season begins, Bullock says the state will employ what he called a robust public health plan in tourist communities, including surveillance testing for COVID-19. Yet he also said the success of this plan will rely on visitors as well as Montanans adhering to health precautions like wearing masks in public places and washing hands frequently.
Look, every step that we take beyond a stay-at-home order and closing down all businesses indeed presents risk of more transmission. And I certainly expect out-of-state visitors to take this seriously as Montanans have.
The governor said the health precautions he's asking all Montanans and visitors to continue doing are part of a, quote, new normal in the state. Cascade County commissioners have voted to cancel the 2020 Montana State Fair due to COVID-19. The fair was originally scheduled to run July 24th through August 1st at the Montana Expo Park in Great Falls. The commissioners also suggested planning a smaller event for the community once the governor announces Phase 3. It's time now to get a check of our forecast here on this Wednesday. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning, everybody. Well, tracking another round of strong thunderstorms this afternoon and evening, primarily throughout the eastern plains. That's not to say we won't get a couple little stronger cells here throughout central Montana. Daytime highs in the mid-60s for a good chunk of our area. Much warmer, though, throughout the eastern plains. That will help to fire up a couple of those stronger storms. This afternoon, we'll start out, or I should say, play out the afternoon with a couple of clouds. Then, as the evening progresses, some stronger storms expected throughout central Montana. Later into the evening, even stronger storms expected to travel up toward Glasgow. That's going to be the area you'll want to keep an eye to the sky. And then overnight, some colder air is going to funnel in, keeping those overnight lows a little bit on the chilly side. Mid 40s for a good chunk of our area here, still staying in the 40s and 50s, though, as we head off into northeastern Montana. Tomorrow on your Thursday, that cold front will continue to push through the state. Upper level low pressure cell is going to still wrap some moisture across the area. I'm not anticipating much, if any, thunderstorms, I guess, on Thursday afternoon, but we're still going to see some lingering showers throughout the area with maybe a couple little pop-up thunderstorms here and there, but kind of tapering off those weather impacts as we head toward the weekend. So 66 today, cooling off as we head toward Friday, and then we'll start to rebound as high pressure rebuilds, and we head into the weekend. That's going to push things back up into the high 60s.